Hello, everyone. Hi. Yesterday, I took time on Tuesday to jot down some notes around capacity. Capacity as it relates to focusing your emotions. So last week we started talking about capacity, and I did have a chance to really hone in and think on a broader scale. Most people that do tune in, they'll ask questions. Hey, what do you do? What do you suggest? So today I'm giving you tools. Elyse's top 10 tips on focusing your emotions to increase your capacity. Remember, we looked at the definition of capacity last week, right? The ability to produce, how much you can contain. I used a couple of different stories and shared the importance of ridding yourself of bad experiences. That if we all had containers, and one day God asked us to pull out our containers, and every time someone did something to us, we stuffed that issue in the container. If He got ready to bless us, we would have no room to receive the blessing. Today, I'm going to start out with your 10 tips that I'm giving you, tools that you can actually use on focusing your emotions. So we'll start out with this. First off, emotions is the same thing as saying your energy. You have emotions, heightened awareness around feeling good, maybe sad, positive, angry. Sometimes we see the little faces that describe even emoticons and emojis on social media networks. But I equate that your emotions is the same thing as saying the amount of energy that you focus in a particular area. Furthermore, your emotions is to your energy just as your IQ is to capacity. Your IQ, your intelligence, how much you can actually control, your ability to respond given a scenario, and intellectually to be able to respond in an intelligent manner to a particular situation, subject, person, whatever it may be. That is your capacity, your ability, your heightened awareness to be able to respond to a particular situation. You know, some people, given a scenario, let's say you were married at one point in time and went through a divorce, and the two of you have children. And I saw one person I was very close to go through this. His first wife kept him in court, and it always seems that his emotions, he didn't have as much control over those emotions when it came to her. But here's what I am encouraging you all to do today. First and foremost, let's go back to some of the previous segments that I shared. You want to identify your purpose in life. Okay, what is your purpose here on earth? What were you created for? There is something inside of you, dreams, visions, goals, aspirations, that no matter where you go, what you do, it won't leave you. And perhaps that could be your purpose. Some people do certain things naturally on instinct better than others. In marketing and communicating, it's natural for me to be able to get in front of a camera or write down thoughts and ideas in a typical single snapshot. I remember, who was it? Sean P. Diddy was saying how Mary J. Blige could come in and record an album in one cut. She has a gift of being able to entertain. Someone else might have a gift of being able to create humor. Someone else may be able to design and methodically come up with a new idea or concept that can sell to the masses. Someone else can market that. Someone else can parent to a certain degree where it comes natural. You have a purpose here on earth. And one of the top 10 things that you need to do is to be very clear on your purpose. Do not live the rest of your life carrying out things that perhaps a mom, a dad, the people around you, your spouse, your children say that you should do. Figure out what it is that you do naturally that creates a heightened awareness, your extreme capacity around being able to do it very well, that others struggle, that you actually execute in a very easier form or fashion. Next, I want you to actually write out your goals. Remember, your goals should be realistic. They should have a time frame associated with it. And you can start out with just a few. This is something that I've encouraged, that you could start out with a piece of paper and you jot down, maybe these are my annual goals. And what I've suggested to you before is look at your roles in life. You know, your relationship with God. What are your goals in growing that relationship? What's your capacity around that relationship? Okay. What are some of the things that you need to do? Do you need to tithe of your time? Do you need to give God 10% of your time? And that'll come in importance for another one of the top 10 tips that I'm giving you today on increasing your capacity as it relates to your emotions. Another goal might be focused on, let's say you are a parent. So learning tips or tools to parent in a different fashion. Some people were raised in a manner where they were disciplined with a belt. Maybe that doesn't work quite right today. You know, so as a parent, what are your goals that you have on increasing that relationship, you know, with your child? What about as a spouse? Are you putting in effort into your marriage? Do you go to events? Do you talk to your spouse? Do you affirm each other? Do you take time away from everyone else and give each other time that's necessary? Are you listening to perhaps some of the requests that your spouse may have for you, you know, and vice versa? So remember to write out your goals. And the first part of that is identifying your roles and then actually writing out the goals from there. Next, third on the list, I actually have that you want to surround yourself with people who are already where you want to go, or they are in the process of moving towards that particular direction. I highly recommend that you get a mentor. This is a part of surrounding yourself with those where you want to go. Why? You become what your environment is. If you're surrounded by people who have attained or obtained and achieved what it is that you're going after, that's a wealth. That's a source of information that you can draw upon and use to catapult yourself forward. In addition, iron sharpens iron. Remember that. So you want to be surrounded by positive people. Equal and opposite, number 4. You want to establish boundaries. Now, we talked about emotions that equal energy, right? You know that there are individuals that when you come in contact with them, whether it's face-to-face, over the phone, it could even be on social media, that as soon as you say, you know, hello, how are you? They're going to pour out their whole life story and drain you of your time, of your energy, of your emotions. Emotions equals energy, and leave you feeling drained and incomplete if you take the time to continue to support or be an enabler to their situations, their emotional struggles that they're having. Now, I'm not saying don't do something professional if you're a counselor, etc. But I am saying you want to draw the line and focus your time and energy for those who can receive it, okay? Who's moving you forward? Who's causing a standstill? When you come into contact with someone, their countenance along with yours, when you depart from them, just take an assessment of how do I feel at this time? How did my interaction with that individual feel? Was it positive? Was it a good, positive, healthy conversation? Did I learn something new from them? Or did I feel like, wow, I can't believe that they shared that or said that? Did they excite you? Did they elevate your excitement? Perhaps that's someone that you do want to keep around. But when you're planning these things out, you definitely want to be aware of who's positive or who's not so positive. I'll give you another example. Had a very positive post about my daughter, and this individual chose to, oh, wow, did this happen yet? And so instead of responding and buying into that, sometimes you can just silence people, and you know what energy that you're feeding into, and eventually, hopefully, they will learn. If it's someone close to you, you can perhaps maybe explain a little bit further why there's more distance created there. But remember to always set boundaries and make sure that you're in a healthy environment and that your energy is focused. So you always want to set boundaries and just make sure that your energy, same as your emotions, are focused and that you're investing into the right source. I tell you this, if I said, hey, I've got a business, I need you to invest $2,000, you would have questions. You would want to know what the business is about, what the concept is, what's going to be your return on investment, how soon you would get that money back. So equally, if you're going to spend time with your emotions, remember emotions, energy, same thing. You want to make sure that you ask yourself, is this person worth my time? Is this person worth me the investment of my time with them? It goes hand in hand. Next, you want to, every day, you want to work on your craft, your skill, your gift, your talent. Every single day. I'll tell you this story. When my children were younger, they ran track and they were trained by the highest level. The husband had played in a league for 11 years. And so he learned lots of things throughout his growing up, playing in college, and then making it into the league and playing for 11 years. His wife was not a one-time, not a two-time, but she was a four-time, which meant freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Every single year out of LSU, she's a four-time track champion. So between the two of them, my children were getting excellent training, the highest level training. So they had training. One thing we learned is basically you bring your skill sets to the team and practice as a team, especially if you run relays or whatever the team, football, basketball, you have to practice outside of practice. So we would practice at home. We would train, do repetition. We trained at the highest level when they were young to build habits, okay, and great habits. And so one day out on the track field, we met a USA Olympic track star. And he was quite impressed with their discipline, their commitment to track and their effort. And Brian was looking at running hurdles at the time, and this was a hurdler. And one of the things that he asked is if he could share some feedback to him. And I was like, oh, definitely. He shared that every day he practices. And if it's technique, if it's hand movement, sitting down, he spent so much time on every aspect, lifting, kicking the front leg, pulling the back leg. That's a technique used in hurdlers, that hurdlers use in clearing the hurdle. But what my point is that he said all of this practice every day boils down to less than a 10-second run. And so for him, if he could shave off a hairline or a fraction or a tenth or a hundredth of a second, that practice every day made the difference. So I'm telling you that when you see those that are exceptionally great at what they do, they're good at what they do, they've practiced every day. Every day, practice your craft, and I promise you, I absolutely promise you that you'll get the results that you need. Beyonce, I heard, went 3 days without eating, getting a performance correct, okay? There are some that have gone years. One gentleman was talking about how he went 10 years away from people. They had an iPad and an iPhone, but celibate. He was a monk, but he really disciplined himself to become very skilled at what he does. Everyone knows one of the most phenomenal encouragers that this man, while struggling himself, not able to pay his bills, car breaking down, figuring out how to, provide food for his family. He struggled while he was encouraging someone else, but every day he practiced it, and everyone knows TD Jakes. So my whole thing is that every day you've got to practice. Even Les Brown has shared that there were things that he did every day to get better. He would go to the radio station that his mentor had told him to go to and was told no, but he went back every day until he got what he wanted, and he practiced his gift and his craft, and he didn't stop. And even when he got laid off from there, he went on and started looking for a job. Him and another guy, the one guy gave up, went home and was cranky with his wife, but Les continued and had did this search diligently and even volunteered to where when one person was laid off, he actually got the job. So I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that when you're working every day on your gift and on your craft, you'll see the results that you want to see. Next, take a vacation. Give yourself a break. This is number 6. Give yourself to relax, to enjoy, to celebrate progress. Yes, you have to work hard. Yes, you have to grind, but you also need to enjoy some downtime. Try to remove any distractions, whether it's, a phone, if it is, email. Stay away from that and enjoy the time on your vacation. Give yourself a chance to relax, okay? And number 7, and before I go to number 7, back to taking a vacation, you really, 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 really need to spend time with yourself. You have to get to know you better than anyone else does. Figure out, this goes back to, our very first one, knowing yourself, writing your goals down, as I had mentioned before, but ultimately identifying your purpose. But when you take a vacation and give yourself some downtime, you give your chance mentally to get whole. And you need that. You need a way to distress. And vacation doesn't necessarily mean that you have to travel, but you can definitely get away from some things and maybe, alleviate, like I said, distractions, TV, radio, and just tune into who you are and your purpose. Number 7 that I have written down for you, again, these are the top 10 tips on increasing your capacity as it relates to your emotion. Emotion meaning your energy, where you're going to focus your energy. Number 7 is becoming familiar and aware of 4 words: assets, liabilities, income, and expenses. And it all centers around basically the ability to know how cash flow works. You do have to get a formal education to be an engineer. Like myself, you got to get a formal education to be a doctor. Otherwise, people would try to sue you, right? But you don't have to get a formal education to be rich. And this is something that I learned from Mr. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, wrote a very good book. And one thing that I pride myself on is being educated and reading and learning what I don't know, because learning never stops. But these 4 words, about income. About expenses, but many people get assets and liabilities confused. And this is what he teaches, that assets is what puts money in your pocket. And most of us today, we live a lifestyle where our cash flow, most is flowing out versus in. But the rich keep getting richer based on certain principles. And when you learn about these 4 words, and if you watch some of his videos or read his book, you really get apprised even more, about ways to get further ahead financially, getting rich, being wealthy, what you can do, etc. It doesn't take anyone with a formal education to do that. Okay, and I also want to suggest, this is number 8, part of my top 10, ask more questions so that you can open your mind. And in parallel with that is you want to speak positive, because the mouth vents what the heart carries, but what we speak becomes life. There's life or death in what we speak. So number 8 is to ask questions and open up your subconscious mind. When you ask questions, hey, how do we do that? What can we do to make that possible? You engage your listener and give them the power to start thinking. When you have closed-ended statements, you take it away. We want the next generation to be extremely sharp, bright, forward-thinking, to be able to dream and come up with ideas. One way of encouraging that is to ask questions. I'll tell you this, my husband at one point in time really said, Elyse, you ask a lot of questions. And now I think he valued the fact that I did ask those questions, because it shows that you can become brighter, you can become sharper, you get a chance to see things that you didn't see before, simply by engaging the subconscious mind. When you speak positive, you give life. It's contagious. People want to be around those that are positive. When you hear that, yes, as you know, and I always say this, you were created for a purpose, for a reason. You have to identify what that is, and that you have a purpose here. The fact that your life was spared and the stuff that you've been through would have killed someone else, but you made it through. That's encouraging to figure out, hey, why am I here? That moves you and compels you to do something perhaps that you're not doing. That causes people that are on the ground to want to get up. Those that feel defeated to feel there's still life. Let me figure out what my purpose is here versus giving up. So again, speak life and ask questions, open-ended questions. Stay away from those that have closed-ended statements, and don't do the same. Number 9. Mistake your way to success, baby. Keep making those mistakes. One thing in school, you get points off when you make mistakes. And I know that, that's how, we're taught in school, etc. But I'll tell you this, my greatest lessons in life have come from when I made mistakes. And I learned from those mistakes. But I had to experience it firsthand. It didn't come from someone telling me, oh, do this or do that. It came from me reaching out, being inquisitive, going out, learning, trying new things and figuring it out on my own and making those mistakes to say, oh, I know not to do that again. I know that if I travel, try to get one bag and carry it on with me because my bags may not come, or I could buy the things while I'm there. Me telling my son, hey, Brian, bring one suitcase. He's got to learn that for himself. So my thing is, and I'm talking about making mistakes, okay? You have to give yourself the room to learn. And parents, you got to give children the room to learn. Stop trying to release them of that burden. Allow them to learn. Just like you were allowed, okay? It will help you to increase your capacity, them increase their capacity as it relates to the emotions. Lastly, controlling your emotions. So we started off this conversation talking about how your emotions, right, is the same thing as energy, and your IQ is the same thing as capacity. So kind of think of it this way. There is a fine gentleman, Dupani, who talks about the conscious versus the subconscious mind, and how most people operate 95% of the time out of their conscious mind and only 5% of their subconscious. But understanding what your subconscious mind is basically, he describes it as this, like your energy is like this ball of light, and your mind has different emotions, right? So this ball of light, this energy is flowing through areas. It goes from, oh, I feel happy, or I feel angry, or I feel sad. And you can control that subconsciously, but it's something that you have to practice every day. And so when it comes down to controlling your emotions, be aware of who you're around. Know what your purpose is. Basically, my top 10 that I've given you, put all of them together. Identify your purpose. Know your purpose. Have goals that you have written out. Surround yourself with positive people. Move away from negative people. Work on your skill every day. Give yourself a chance to take a vacation. Get into you. De-stress. Decompress. Know what those 4 words are around finance. Speak life, okay? Ask open-ended questions. Make mistakes. Then you're able to control your emotions. Today, I know I gave you a lot of information, more than typical. This is Elyse. I'm living my best life. And I so hope that you're living yours. I gave you some great tips today, some tools. Use them, and I want to hear from you. Have a wonderful, fantastic day, and this is the eve of my birthday. I will talk with you all later.